So, hello everyone. I'm super happy to see that there is such excitement about cap table subject. So, before starting, does everyone here know what a cap table is? Like, it's super clear for everyone. So, it's cap table for the people that are looking the video and don't know and are not as smart as all of you. Cap table represents everyone having shareholding inside your company. It's usually a spreadsheet. It can be sometimes a software online, and it just represents the ownership of the company. And there is multiple ways to screw up cap table. There is actually a lot of ways to screw up cap table. And one of the experience we have at the family over the last 4 years is that people are super weak when it's question of ownership at beginning. And as more that the company is growing and becoming successful, and more they regret that decision much more than everything else. And it always become a political problem that is super hard to solve. So there is few subjects in the life of a startup that are actually that big of a problem. Like, if you screwed up your product, you can change your product. If you screwed up your launch, you can do another launch. If you screwed up any press article, you can always, find a way to have better press article. So there is something that makes startups so unique, is that they are failure resistant. You can, that's why we are in an industry where everyone say it's good to fail fast, fail better, blah blah blah. All this fail loving. It's not because failure is good. It just is because it's not that important. That's the reality. No one is really telling you that failing is good. That's just a marketing thing. So the reality of that is that it's not that important to fail, because one another way you can always find a way to solve that. But there is one subject that is super hard to solve, is a cap table subject, and there is two main reasons for that. It's because around cap table, you have the two biggest forces that in startup can really change the face of startup. Emotion, because it's a super emotional subject. It's a super irrational subject. It's not that rational. And taxes. So if emotion meets taxes, then you're totally fucked up. Like, it's a kind of combo you don't want. So let's start about the legal aspect of that. There is something super strange for any entrepreneur doing a startup, is that you cannot freely exchange shares. It's a thing that every startup founders learn at their depend, is that the startup is, even if it's your own startup, even if you have the feeling that it's your own baby and you have all the right against them, the state in every civilized country will consider that this startup has a value outside yourself. And that value cannot be exchanged freely without a price that is called a market price. So by definition, this market price is not zero. So even if you're a super nice person and you realize that someone in your company don't get as much share as he deserves, or someone has too much share and is ready to give a certain part of that, it's not that easy to freely exchange shares. And why? Because as soon as you get an investor in your cap table, you have what it's called a market price, a price that defines the price of shares on your market in the exchange, and no tax authorities will let you transfer shares behind that. So of course, there is a lot of legal implication. I will have only one good advice around that: take a good lawyer. You don't imagine how a good lawyer is important with this kind of question. By the way, on cap table, good lawyers are like good doctors. Don't go on Google, read things, and try and copy and paste. Because it's a subject, it's like if you are trying to cure cancer using Google, you will end up not being really well afterwards. Same thing with cap table. But the best way to don't have that need is to really think from the beginning about what is the good relationship of ownership. And that starts with not doing a mistake at 3 crucial phases. Phase one is how do you split the equity between co-founders. Step two is how much equity do you give to the first investor. And step three is how do you maintain that balance over time, including employee and new investors. Like that's the three moments where you need to be super good around cap table management. So around founder ownership, we have one simple rule at the family that everybody hates on market. And I think people don't really understand why we are so strict on that rule, is that we think that the only way to split equity in a founding company is equal shares. And you know why it's the only way? Because it's the worst way. Let me explain. Why people don't like that? Because there is a lot of obvious reason to don't split equity equally. A lot. For example, someone will be super experienced and someone will not be super experienced. So giving equal ownership doesn't make sense. And I think, and I really deeply think that, is that if it doesn't make sense to equal split, it means that the co-founding team don't make sense. The truth is that every time you try to use a cap table splitting between people as a way to correct the problem between your team, it means that the team is not good enough. And let's be super concrete around that. Every startup is a failure by nature. You know, be successful as a startup is an exception, is not nature. So don't try to overcome the odds that are already against you. So if you start in life with a bad relationship, you know that your children will be ugly. It's as simple as that. You cannot really be in the situation where thinking about accommodation around cap table will make it over time. It will never make it over time. And why? Because you need a super strong funding team. And what does it represent when you split equity equally? Is that you think that everyone can have equal value over time. And that is a very strong stance. If you start to have things like, so sometimes people tell me, yeah, I have 95% of the equity because I got the ID, and my co-founder got 5, because it does all the work. So that always ends up bad. Because even if people accept, they always regret what they accept. So don't forget it, it's an emotional subject. How emotional subject works, people do super irrational things. They accept things because on your side you think it's a fair deal, but on their side it's not. And the day they wake up, the only thing they want to do is destroy everything. Think low divorce. Think couples when things go bad. And imagine 10 times more. Because that's the reality of founder split. It's as bad as a divorce, but there is nothing intimate between people to save you. Because it's business. And so people start to do super, super irrational thing and go after everything they build because they have the feeling that they have been screwed. And that's the worst feeling to go against. So, of course, there is a situation where some people are not co-founders, they are just employee paid in equity. And that inequality is fine. I'm not telling you that every time you add an employee, you have to add equal ownership. I'm just telling you that the person you consider as your co-founder should be equal split. And I will even tell you something crazy. I think that if you have nothing to split equity equally with, you will be better solo founders. Every data set shows that solo founders have less chance of winning than multiple founders. But the reality is that solo founders works better than having unequal ownership in cap table between people that don't respect each other. And I think that is a super hard decision to take, because at the beginning of any startup, there is this illusion that things will be fine, that people understand, that people have negotiated. And you know, we had like so many times in the family situation where we took company that was not equally split and it ended up bad. And every time we ask ourselves why is such a force of nature, and I think it's for a very simple reason, is that no one can accept over time something that is unfair. Startups are too hard to be a place for injustice. You need to have a certain sense of fairness inside your company, because if not, it creates tension. And by the way, if you give equal ownership to someone that doesn't deserve it, then you will kill your startup faster than not having equal ownership. Because understand that. I'm not saying that giving equal ownership is a magical solution that will solve all the issue. For example, the best example we have of that in the family is that one of our company took literally this equal ownership thing. They built a startup 50-50, and one of the co-founder was good, and the other co-founder was really bad. Every single employee that joined and received equity felt that the equity they got has no value, because that bad co-founder that is doing nothing received half of the company for nothing. And that literally killed the company. And that's why equal ownership is such a powerful tool, because it forces you to realize when you have a co-founder mistake in the face. If you give 5% to someone, it's easy to deal with the mistake of having him around. But it's not a good thing that it's easy to deal with that. It's better, to face your error in front of you. So that's on the founder part, and I think a lot of people, come to see us, and the conversation is always like that. I have an idea, and I want to launch a company. And I think no idea in the world is the premise of any company. What is the real premise of a company is who your team is. I think who you are building something with is much more important than what. Because what can change? Who doesn't change. So I would prefer that people come to see me and say, I met that extraordinary guy that is totally amazing. We are falling professionally in love together, and we want to have a baby at the family. That will be a great story. I will understand that story. Because that story will be much more realistic around the odds of being successful than be obsessed about an idea. And by the way, the idea obsession make people taking very stupid decisions about co-founders. Because don't take a co-founder for his skills. I'm always so surprised by the bad advice that people give in startups. For example, one of the most common bad advice that I see all the time is people that tell founders that they should build a complementary founding team. I love that because, they say, yeah, it's better if you have a hacker, an hustler, and a designer together. Yeah, of course it's better. It's obviously better. And if it doesn't happen like that, it's because there is natural reason for that. One of the reasons for that is that it's very uncommon for geek to respect hustler, and it's very uncommon for hustler to have any respect for geek. And I'm not talking about the designer that no one understands. So very often I reply to that, who is a hustler between Sergey Brin and Larry Page? Who is a designer in Facebook founding team? Who is a co-founder in Oracle story or blah, blah, blah. If you take every great startups, there is an homogeneity of culture between founders. So let me tell you a reality. Diversity in founding team doesn't work. Because as human, we are not wired to deal with diversity. If in society we need laws to protect diversity, it's because it's super counter-natural, in the sense that we are not used to face what we fear. And of course, if you're a geek and a nerd, and you spend all your life geeking around, the first time you met a business guy, you feel deeply, in difficulty in your soul around that person. And it's normal. The same way, if you're just thinking about money as long as you remember, and when you was 7 years old, you was selling cookies, and at 8 years old, selling lemonade, and at 18, you do your first startup, and you meet a geek that tell you that you optimize the code to be more efficient, you will be super shocked. You will be like, yeah, but how does it impact our bottom line? And that's fine, because you need a certain maturity and you need a certain confidence to start to bring that diversity in your team. And that diversity can always be bring as an employee. But that the co-founder, as a heart, as a structure, you need something much more important than skill. You need trust. You need comfort. You need homogeneity. And of course, what is incredible is when you have diversity of skill and homogeneity of culture. Like that's, the dream combination of co-founding team. But that's like a winning lottery ticket. It's not a criteria, it's being lucky. It cannot be a strategy to be lucky. If you are lucky, it's better. But it's not something you decide. It's something that you live for. And so focus on who can you trust blindly. Because a co-founder is someone that will be here every moment you are down. And it's someone you need to be able to trust on subject where you will not be in the room to take the decision. Because one of the mistakes I see all the time between co-founders is the committee co-founders. If you are 2 or 3, it's an incredible power if each of you can do something and each of you can decide without the others. Because you trust each other. Because you have the same culture. I will give you a very simple example. Design at the family. For example, in our team, co-founding team, we have like this real homogeneity of culture. With Alice and Nicola, we share the same value. We are pirates at heart. We have a really deep respect for liberty. We are very, very rebellious by nature. And that is expressed by very different personality. If you see Alice, Nicola, and I, we look very different. But it's an illusion. Deep in our heart, we are the same. We care about our family more than anything. We travel a lot. We love food. We have so much things that is deeply connect us in secret. And so in our ménage à trois, Alice is responsible of our swag, like these kind of things on the wall there. So let me tell you what happened when I arrived in the family office for the 3rd time and I see this lion on a mountain with 2 leopards. I'm like, what the fuck? That is called trust. It's like, I will never have decided to do that. Never. Like, there is not something in my life that will make me decide to do that. I mean, I don't know if you went on our website, but there is burger and cats. Why burger and cats together? It's like, it's so weird decision, but I trust her. It's not like we discussed. We didn't have a meeting. Hey, should we put a burger and a cat on the website? Yeah, approved. Like, no, that doesn't, no. It's like one day I went on the website and I was like, oh, there is a cat. Oh, there is a burger. That's how good decision happened. But it's because I trust her that she take decision. And the funny thing is that from 2 years, each time I meet someone, it's like, your website is amazing. I love when people say your website. Like I have anything to do with that. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So we will cut at the image everything I said about Alice. So you see, it's a very small example. It can look silly, but you don't imagine how many teams will be discussing these kind of details. A good founding team, it's about not discussing details. A good founding team is about being able to have someone taking a decision that you will never have been able to do, to take yourself. That's real trust. Trust is not when you agree. It's easy to be trustful when you agree. Of course, if I agree with everything Alice say, or if Alice agree with everything I say, it will be easier. But it's not easy. It's about finding a trust and a place where you can be together. That's why equal ownership is such a powerful tool. Because it creates a tension inside the team. That if you made a mistake about a co-founder, you cannot live with that mistake. You will be forced to take a decision and you will be forced to clean up your cap table. Then start the second problem with cap table is the first investor. So there is 3 invisible rules that we should tell every founders. And it works, like a little bit like natural laws. Law number 1, more you wait for investor, more the quality of the investor that you will face increase. It's a very simple mathematical law. If you are on market for a month, the quality of investor will be average. If you are on the market for a year, quality of investor will be higher. So more your company is strong and successful, and more you will attract better investor. And so there is a tension between your needs and what you can achieve without them. More you achieve without them, more the pool of quality of investor increase. Very often people think that waiting to fundraise increase valuation. Actually, that's false. It doesn't work like that. Because you are in an industry that is so lazy that everything is standard. You know, at the end of the day, you will lose 20% or 25% for your first round. But the funny thing is that you can lose 25% for a crappy business angel that only pay high tax and tax deduct because he invests in you. That can be 20% of your company. Or you can have someone that have 20% and is a seasoned entrepreneur or an investor, and he actually knows what you do and he actually knows how to add value. And on paper, both of them is 20% lost in cap table, but the effect on long-term success is very different. And you know, I'm very comfortable to tell you that because I did most of the mistake I tell people to don't do. So I have like this very intimate relationship with the mistakes. And the bad investor mistake, I did it more than anyone. I'm still in lawsuit with investor I had 9 years ago. So it's like we are doing a big deal right now in the family, and one of the investors of 9 years ago learned about it and he sued me based on the fact that I didn't make him money 9 years ago. It's so when I tell you don't take jerk in your cap table, I know what a jerk is. I had many of them, and super intense jerk. And the funny thing is that I remember how I dealt with them. It's not like I was lying to myself about the fact they are jerk. The first minute I met them, I know they are jerk. Because the truth is that most of the jerk are super open about the fact that they are jerk. No, it's true. It's one of the characteristics of being a jerk. Some nice people can hide it, but jerk don't hide. You know, they are like, I'm super proud to be a jerk. Are you a jerk? And and the funny thing is that I did what every liar do at that moment. I lied to myself. Yeah, he's a jerk, but he's good in business. Or he looks experienced. Or he fucked everyone, but he will not fuck me. Of course, because that's exactly what fuckers do. You know, and the funny thing around that is that most of the time when I talk with founders about bad investor, and I ask them, okay, the first 5 minutes you met that guy, what did you think? Yeah, I hate him. Okay, so why did you let him invest? Because I need the money. And you see that need is totally false. Because the reality is that in venture, you never need the money. It's something we all should all tell you. Like, okay, you run out of money, operate without money. You have a rent to pay, go to live with a friend. You need some money for food, go to your parents. Like, don't tell me you have no friends and no parents, because that's the only people maybe that have the right to raise because they need it. And the truth is that it's just a comfort and an ego thing, because we all want to tell others around us that we are successful, and raising money is the first validation. So I'm not telling you it's not a validation. Of course it's a validation. Of course, raising money, it's one of the best moments of anyone being an entrepreneur. You know, there's all these people that are like, raising is not what is important. What is important is building a company. Yeah, everybody knows that. But nobody knows how to build a company for real. Raising is something simple we all understand. So that's why if you raise, celebrate it. But the problem we have is that when we raise, no press article talk about the quality of investor. You know, I will be super, super cool if when you raise, you have to disclose the investor and someone give you a grade of quality. And you know, every press release will be, the family did a hey raise, or a BBB raise, or a CCC raise. You know, like there will be this label to qualify the quality of investor, and will be shamed publicly. Because the truth is that we talk and, you know, we say about things like, not who invest, but how much did we raise? And the problem at the beginning is that you have no leverage. Like, especially in Berlin. You know, in France, we have been so lucky in the startup ecosystem, is that no one was raising too early because there was no money on the market. So, of course, every entrepreneur at the family, they try to raise way too early. They fail raising because there is no money. And then they go back to work and find solution and grow a company. And some of them did incredible raise. And then we started to operate in Berlin and London. And then the catastrophe appeared. Because then you have people with a slide deck that come and be like, yeah, we are on market to raise. But raise what? Our seed round. But with who? And like, yeah, we are talking to business angels. Like, who is giving you money? You have no product, no traction, no team. Like, on what? Yeah, no, we are talking with people. And then, you know, at the beginning it was super hard for us because I was like, yeah, sure, try to raise, you know, having the French experience in mind. And then they come back and they're like, yeah, we raised 500,000. What? 500,000? With who? And then you look the list, and who do you have in the list? Goldman Sachs banker, JP Morgan banker, executive from Rocket Internet, you know, all these people that have way too much money to give and way too less knowledge to know where to give the money. And then he creates a market that is super, super complicated to operate and deal in. Because what happens when people raise money? They spend the money. It's supernatural. You raise money, you spend money. And then you start to have a cash burn. And then your cash burn becomes your biggest liability. And then all your life, you have to deal with these people. So understand that rule. More you wait, more the quality increase. It's a super good rule. If you are super lucky, it can increase super fast. If you are super unlucky, it can increase super slow. But over time, it always increase. Because good investors, they know that they have the leverage to wait. Because good investors can pick who they invest in, and everybody knows who are the good investor and who are not. And if you don't know, just do the game of asking around you. You will see everyone that raises money with people can tell you if someone is good or not. But the problem is that founders don't do the due diligence process. And why they don't do the due diligence process? Because they are scared of the answer they will get around the investor. Because most of the time they know that the investor is not that good. Law number 2. If you happen to raise too much of your capital too early, you will never have room left for anyone good. Why? Because good people don't like to be with bad people. One of the secret reasons of not doing a deal, that no one will never talk to you, is that people don't want to deal with the jerks you have inside your company. And I learned that the hard way. For example, someone that became one of my best friends now, I know him from years, is one of the best investors. I will not give his name because it will be a liability for him, but to be my friend. But but that guy met me in my previous company, and the company where people still sue me. And the funny thing is that we talked for 2 years, and for 2 years I always felt that the guy wanted to invest, but he never did. And then I left the company and blah, blah, blah. And one day I was in a restaurant with him and I was like, okay, can you really tell me why you never invest? Did you know it was such a bad idea? And he was like, no, actually I'm super lucky I didn't do it because I really believed you in the project. So I was mistaken as you. So, okay, but why you didn't do it? And he started to list all the people in my cap table he didn't like. And he told me, if I invest, it will be a validation of their work, and that's way too much of a liability for me. because I cannot validate these kind of people on market. And so I don't want to deal with them. And the problem is that very often founders have a legal answer to that. For example, when I discuss with founders and I tell them, this investor is bad, why do you let him invest? They say things like, yeah, but I didn't give him any right in the shareholder agreement. Or I'm protected by that legal document. So let me tell you an experience secret. Legal documents, they have no value. Not at all. If someone wants to call you 3 times a day, there is no legal document on earth that will impeach him to call you 3 times a day. And by the way, more people are bad, more they are good at this kind of thing. Because taking that kind of time to go after people, it's typically what characterizes bad people. Good people have more things to do in their life than going after you. Bad people, they only have one goal in life, is going after people like you. And so it creates a kind of a dichotomy between the good people and the bad people in a cap table. And then the bad people start to take 100% of the conversation. And the conversation is super different. And that goes for law number 3. The quality of your first investor will define the quality of all your investors over time. Because the kind of people you decide to work with will define forever the kind of people you will be able to work. Because don't think that having an investor don't change your DNA. The way I see investor in cap table is not just a money thing, it's also a DNA thing. The DNA of your company is defined by the investor inside the company. Because he has a huge influence of who is whispering to you. Because you can believe that as a founder you will always take your own decision, but no one do that. No one is strong enough to don't be influenced by what people tell you all the day long. And the problem is that if you start to have people that are, for example, less ambitious than you should be, then your company is less ambitious. And the unalignment of interest is super big between average angel and entrepreneurs. Because average angel are looking for average returns. And so it puts you as a founder in a situation where you will never be challenged at the level where you want to go. And you don't imagine how many good companies at the family we had that should have been better company and become crappy company because of crapping investor management. So if you don't want to screw your cap table, understand that quality of investor will always win over money, valuation, or anything else. And by the way, that's why some very good investors have such a discount on market, because everybody knows that they are a good investor. So they can enter in company at the price they want because they know that they impact positively the value of the company. And you should be careful around that. So the last important thing around that is how do you manage when you did a mistake like that? So 2 kinds of mistake. Mistake number 1, you let someone enter your company that should not be here. Everybody can do that kind of mistake. Take it seriously. Do cap table cleaning round after round. If you are lucky to survive and you are lucky to be in position to let new investor coming, just clean your cap table. A founder is not that involved, buy him out. An investor is not that good, find a way to buy him out. Clean your cap table round after round. It's super important to always keep your cap table clean and don't be cheap. If you believe in your company, find a way to make people pay for having people out and find a way to make them a good deal. Because it's your mistake first. Like if you split your company with someone and he doesn't deserve it after all, you can always tell the story that that is his mistake, but the reality is that it's your mistake. You are responsible of letting people. And understand that investors are a marriage without any divorce possible. It looks like, marriage before 18th century. So if you want word of wisdom about how to manage that, read every wife book written before 18th century about how to treat your husband, and that will give you a perfect tract of how to treat your investor. Because that's what I'm telling you. You can be super harsh with investor before getting them in. You can be super cocky with investor before getting them in. You can be super disrespectful for investor before taking their money. But as soon as you take money of an investor, the deal is done, and you have to respect them, whoever they are and however they act. Because you are in a situation where you are responsible of taking their money. You need to respect that money. I think there is in the starter plan way too much disrespect for money. Money is super important. Money, you should respect the money people give you, because the money they give you is the money they didn't give to someone else, and you decided to accept it. You cannot be this child that takes the money of someone, knowing that he's bad, and then act like it's not important, that guy is a jerk. Don't do that mistake. Because you should never, and that's my mom, rule number 1, never hurt anyone you cannot kill. It's a super important rule of survival over a long time. Because you can never kill the investor. If he's inside your cap table, you can stay. And I can tell you 2 horror stories just for this year. Horror story number 1, I call it the accountant nightmare. So, in France, I don't know how it is in Germany or in UK, but in France, the worst investor you can have are accountants. It's by nature, because accountants are everything, but not someone that will risk anything. You know, it's by DNA and nature, their only position in life is to hedge risk. So it's not like they will come in a venture and be the one that is crazy, you know. Maybe you have a repentant accountant, but that's another story. So let's take fintech number A. They raise 500K to start their company. They think that they need the money. No one good invest because no one understands why they should put money so early. And so the only person they found, it's 10 accountants putting 50,000 each for 25% of the company. The fintech developed super well, super good. They never do reporting. They never send email. They fight a little bit with them every time there is a decision. But they own 75% of the company, and 25% of the company is owned by accountant. They grow super fast. Everything is so beautiful. You know, the birds are singing. Everything there is. Everything really going well. And then we introduce them to a super famous fintech investor from the United States. And like any good VC from United States, he do a way too pricey offer, way too fast, not even knowing the cap table. And he say, you know, I have only one condition to my investment, is that we flip the company in Delaware. So the company raised first round, 2 million valuation for 500K. Series A is 50 million offer with a 30 million lead at 100 million valuation. And we flip the company in Delaware. So to flip the company in Delaware, you need 100% of the vote. So they send an email to accountant number 1 and 10, and they say, we have a super good news. The company you invested 2 million in is now valued 100 million, and we just need your vote to go and flip. And they said, yeah, no problem. Send the document to our lawyers. Lawyer looks at the document and reply, why is the document are in English? I don't speak English. Can you send them in French? Answer, can you change your lawyer? Answer, no, I'm working with this guy for 20 years. He's a super good business dude. I trust his judgment. Email. No, really, guys, we are not going to translate the document. You really need to take someone talking English. Email. Yeah, we took some good advice, and you know, when we invest in you, we got a tax break, and that tax break is not good if we flip to Delaware. So it will be better if that guy invests in France. Email. No, that's not going to happen, motherfucker. Just sign the document and shut up. No answer. No answer. Email 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No answer. The guy go to the apartment of one of the accountants. The guy don't even open the door. Then we come back and tell the investor that he has 10 shareholders that refuse to sign the document, but no problem, we can create a company in Delaware together and forget the company in France. The American investor never reply again because it's a felony. The entrepreneur thinks he's saying something super smart, but he's actually saying something super stupid. I'm ready to screw people that invest in me. If you do that to them, you will do that to everyone, or that's at least what the investor think. Then they came back in France, no deal. They try to raise, they raise a small round, and 2 years later the company bankrupt. And they never had the destiny we should have. And stories like that are not fictional. And why? Because there is a free mistake I told you. Too much money too early, for nothing, from bad people that you disrespect. And so the time you need them, they will never be on board. And we are talking about 200,000 in tax. If everybody have been around the table and everybody was talking to everybody and everybody understand what happened, there was thousands of solutions to find for this tax problem. But that's what not happened. What happened is a lack of conversation. And the second story I want to tell you about is a story I regret deeply because I'm part responsible of this story. So one of our best growing company raised 15 million inside our portfolio from really good investor. And the problem is that I did not notice that there was a gap of culture and really a gap of value between the founder and the investor. And the founder did something really stupid. He bought a new car and went on TV bragging about his company. And the investor, that is not that bad, started to think that the founder is not serious anymore because he has a new car and brag. So sometimes, there can be a mismatch of culture. Like when a very rigid, old-fashioned culture meets a very young and totally unconscious culture. And that's when a problem happened in the board a few months later. It was really a small problem. But you had two ways of seeing the problem. One way is like, oh, it's a usual mistake, no problem, let's solve it. Or you can see it, there is potentially a fraud behind that. When trust is broken, which version people take? Always the worst one. Even if in terms of probability, it's very small. And that company got sold in a really bad situation because no one around the table was talking to each other anymore. And the responsibility are shared around the table. Of course, we will all hope that investors are not kids that, take rational decision. But I told you, the cap table management brings the worst of the two things that make human take very bad decision. Lot of money and emotion. And when that collide, it always creates situations that are super complicated. Thank you very much.
If I'm new to cap tables, are there any recommended readings that you find have been good for you to explore the area?
That's interesting. I don't think it's a subject that is. Everybody tell you how to raise fund. Everybody tell you how to raise fund, but nobody tell you about. Because of course the problem is when people tell you need to raise from good investor, but how do you define good investor? I'm not sure there's a lot of reading around that. And I think it's, by the way, it's very personal and you should be super irrational. I think people tend to over-optimize around rational decision around fundraising when it should be a subject that is super irrational and you should treat it as irrational. I will give you, for example, I'm a big traumatized, so when I did the fundraising for the family, for example, I should not say that in record. Please don't tweet it, because it's my secret weapon. But when I raised for the family, each time I had an investor not paying the bill at the restaurant, I refuse his money. Because I think that if you're an investor and someone comes to pitch you, and at the end you let him pay the bill of the restaurant, you will be a pain in the ass. And there is nothing, I mean, there is nothing rational in that. You know, it's just a feeling. It's important for me to eat, and I think that people should give me something free even if they don't invest, and even more if they invest, they should give me food for free. And I can tell you I can give you the list of people that got refused in the family and they don't know why. And I have been super strict with this rule. And there was a moment where my co-founder Alice was like, "Okay, Oussama, you really need to calm down," because there was someone she really liked, and so he didn't pay the bill. And I said, "No, he doesn't get in." And she was like, "No, you have to let him in." And it's the only guy. It's not a joke. It's the only guy we have trouble with. It's like, and I'm like, you see, my rule was real. Yeah, that was part of the. You see, my rule is real, and I think you see how, I think that kind of irrational rule also peak because not paying bill at the restaurant tells so much about you. I'm not saying you're a good or bad person. You're just incompatible with us. Because, of course, like if you look at the family, we always offer food for free for our entrepreneur. We always party. It's part of our DNA. So if someone look at our accounting and look what is the second biggest pool of expense, it's party and restaurant and food. You have employee, food, rent. That's the three. So, of course, it's a cultural thing because if you are not in that mindset, then you will look at the accounting and you will be, this company is badly managed. But actually, no, that company is managed for the kind of people they want to attract and for the kind of culture we build. But it can be super hard to understand that. And that very small tip is a very, very, very easy thing to spot people. So I think you should develop things like that. And by the way, it can be the opposite. You don't let someone that pay for you invest because you don't respect people that don't waste too much money. You know, like good value can work both ways. Good value can be a choice. It's not like something. Yeah.
Have you had any experiences mixing investors from the US and Europe?
Yeah. So, in terms of cultural gap, that one is always hard because. And by the way, I don't know if US investors are good for European company. It's a big question mark I have inside the family because they are so far from European reality. I think, look, let's say it that way. In average, US investor know better what they do than average European investor. Now, good European investor are as good American investor. So it's question of average against exceptionality. So the reality is that if you take let's say an index venture or Sherry venture or people we work with, help me, I will not give all the name, but if you take this kind of good investor, they are by definition as good as the US counterpart, and it's easy to mix them in cap table. But the problem is that the US investors are in such a different reality of liquidity, cost, and blah, blah, that sometimes it creates super, super strange conversation. A good example of that, we have a successful company that is looking for hiring a product manager in France. And the US investor is sending profile. And none of this profile costs less than $500,000 a year. And everybody around the table is like, why? Why do they think that anyone will hire a $500,000 product manager in France? That doesn't make sense. Like you can find super talented people for 100,000, and you will be the highest pay on the market. And then you tell them that, and they are like, oh, really? Like, that is that cheap? You know? So I wonder how much, you know, a cultural caricature can be super hurting. So my advice for our startups is look for US investor only if you launch US. If you don't have any plan to launch US, it doesn't make sense at all. By the way, most of US good investor will not invest if you don't launch US, because they will be smart about that. But you know, there is like all this Trump exit area where they all try to get some investment outside in case they need a visa. It's a big market right now, I can tell you. Every week we are pinged by a guy who's like, yeah, can we please find a way? Is it complicated to get a passport for France? In case, I'm just asking. So yeah. But again, it's true around every cultural thing. One rule of thumb to pick an investor is ask him his fund size. And there is a very simple validation you can do in your mind, is that the fund size of an investor always represents the minimum exit someone look with your company. If you are a 50 million fund, they just need that one of the company is valued more than 50 million. So they are looking for a 50 million winner. If the fund is 500 million, they are looking for a 500 million exit with you minimum. If their fund is 2 billion, they are looking for a 2 billion exit. It's a very easy, you know, rule of thumb. And that also helps you to see if your expectations are aligned with investor. Because for strange reason, people don't think about basic thing. For example, one of the things that I don't like to do, but am forced to do all the time with our entrepreneur, is each time they receive an investment proposal, I just draw the table of exit. So I told them, look, you have right now 40% of your company. So if you exit at 100 million, it means that you will make 40 million. Now you take someone and you go from 40 to 20%. So it means that if you exit at 100 million, you make only 20 million. Do you think that the risk of that investment change the odds of dividing by 2 your projected return? And do you think you can be a 200 million company just to pay back the investment you just received? You know, like it's very basic, you know, everybody should do that by himself, but for very strange reason, people are just like running like a dog, like raising. And you're like, why? You don't. And the worst is when like you have companies sometimes that are so funny because they don't need the money. They are doing well, they have cash, and they are worried about something that can happen. Like, for example, last summer we had one of our company that just raised 9 million, and that was 2 years of cash burn. And they started so someone offered them 3 more. And they was like, yeah, should we take it or not? And I was like, why? Say, yeah, but imagine if in 24 months we run out of cash. I'm like, yeah, if in 24 months you run out of cash, you are dead. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, so look, do you think that 24 months will be different than 27 months? No. Okay, does 10% of your company is a big difference? Yes. Why are we talking? Because 3 months more in 24 months will not change anything. And the reality that you can die, it's true. You can die. So, you know, you have to face that as an entrepreneur. Because sometimes when you talk with entrepreneur, you talk to people, it will be like if someone talked to you about his life without the hypothesis that everyone here will die one day. Of course, everyone will die. Even in Game of Thrones, they say it. Vlagar Moguris. I offer the TV show Game of Thrones producer. I told him they should do a startup version of Game of Thrones. And we can invent a language where the motto will be all startup must fail. It will be the equivalent. Of course, as men, we all die, and as startup, we all fail at some point. So you cannot only plan for failure. You have to also plan for success. It's a better, and by the way, it's better for morale. You keep better optimism, and it works better. Question. Yeah. Wait.
Do you mind?
For the microphone.
So I get a video,
Voice is loud enough. Hello. What do you think about, because now when you look at different investors, someone would call himself or herself as the industry specific. Some would call themselves industry agnostic. What do you think about those terms? Like, do you think they actually make a big difference? If someone is claimed that they are specialized in travel, IoT, or whatever, does it make a big difference? What's your opinion?
My opinion is that by definition, if someone is industry specific, is that if it doesn't feel good enough to be industry agnostic, or it doesn't have power enough to convince his LP, his own investor, to be industry agnostic. So by definition, it means that he's playing a smaller game than the other one. But now the truth is that it comes down to the person and not the investment firm. And by the way, that is so true from an investor perspective. Bad relationship never happen with a firm. It always happen with a partner. So the partners are always more important than the firm. You know, everyone in the team has different personality, and it's like good relationship. It can be great with someone and can be super bad with someone else. So you need to find criteria to define if they are good for you. And again, I think that comes down to asking real questions to the investor. You know, we all have irrational things that are important for us. You know, that define who we are at a very deep level, and we don't want to be honest about that. If you can ask this kind of question to your investor, it will be much better. You just want to be with people that don't screw around, that just do standard deal, and standard deal are standard. And it's a rule. Every time in the family someone over-optimizes a round, pay the price around after. Every time you create, because some people are so good at that. You know, there is we did one day a spreadsheet that is very funny. We put all the company of the family in a spreadsheet. We give to every founder how good they are in fundraising from 0 to 10. And we look the outcome. More you are close to 10 in fundraising, more the outcome is small. Because every good entrepreneur at fundraising always end up paying the price of being good at fundraising. Because at the end of the day, the market always corrects itself. So you raise a seed round at 8 million valuation and you are the biggest seed round of the family. Great. 1 year later, you raise your A at 8 million and you are the smallest A of the family. And it's always a story like that. Because in market, if something is above or below real market price, when it corrects extremely high. So if you raise way too high, you will raise way too low. If you raise right, you will raise right. It's as simple as that. But the problem is that it requires a lot of maturity. And I understand, I did the mistake. I raised, in my first company, I raised the seed round at 12 million valuation. Seed round, 4 million, 12 million valuation, boom. First company, 19 years old. Like of course, only stupid people can give a deal like that to a 19 years old. Like they didn't even think that I was 19. Like that's step one of how stupid they are. Like, yeah, let's give 4 million to a 19 years old kid. Yeah, it's great. It's typically what a 19 years old kid that never did business need to succeed. It's like, and people are so irrational around money question, but not the right way. You know, they try to rationalize of that. So pick, like, for example, why I like the investor of Serie B we are talking right now with, because they are family people. That's important for me. I'm not asking everyone to be family people, but for me, it's important. I love my family. I love the family. And it's important for me that these people are super long-termist. You know, I will not tell you the joke because you will know who they are, but they made me a super funny joke. I say, how can I know that you are long-termist? They say, we built our first exit 10 centuries ago. I was like, okay, that's a good criteria. Question?
Especially when the fundraising process is a startup, how to manage the inflow of investors? Because my experience at the beginning is like everyone wants to talk to you, everyone wants to see your slides, and no one wants to come after, or like they all want to hang you for a long time into decision making. So what will you advise as a startup when we approach to the investors, potential investors?
What do you mean exactly? What?
It's like whenever you talk to potential investor, everyone says they want to talk to you, even though they are not early stage investors.
Ah, yeah.
For example.
Yeah, I know that. It's a fear of missing out. Okay, I got your question. Look, the truth is that it's not that bad to lose time. Well, you can sit down, no worry. We are living in the time of return on investment and productivity. It's a fashion like another. You will see soon some people will start to write article like the 10 things I learned about wasting my time. Or I did a meeting that was not obviously good before it happened, and then something magical happened. All of that will come because we went down so much in the productivity path, like focus, do only meeting that matters, look your return on investment, that now people are like, okay, maybe that was way too much machine, let's go back the other way. And like everything that correctly overcorrect. But then it's just question of being smart around that. Do your homework. I don't know why people don't do their homework. So you can go on the website, you can go on Crunchbase, you can look at which deal they did, which number, which stage, which valuation. Do your homework. And when you did that homework, don't take the meeting because it will not go somewhere. Take the meeting having that in mind, and put yourself in a longer position. If you go to see if you know that there is no way that these people in front of you invest in that round, start to build relationship. Be like, okay, like my company is doing ABC. I know it's too early for you. No worry. I'm not here to pitch you. I'm here to better learn about how you work. And one of the best way to evaluate people is to engage people. Engage people. Don't be like, I know how hard it is because the first time we think dating, okay? What happened at first date? Everybody overpromise. With a little bit of experience, you know that at dating, no promise will never make the cut. Like everybody tell you that. Most of the time, the love of their life is always the underdog. Yeah, she was a friend and we hang out together and now we have 2 babies. And why? Because you are not in fucking dating mode. Like no one build long-term relationship based on lie. No one. So if something is not going good in your startup, tell them. Of course, if that thing is so bad that it killed your company, of course they will never invest because you tell them. But still, they will know that you are someone they can trust. And that has a much higher market value than any short-term seduction. And everyone can be like, the problem is that investors are by definition in their job very sensible to seduction. They are very sensible to people that can pitch well. But then if you are not someone that pitch well, you are lucky. And if you are someone that pitch well, just be honest. Just try to be super transparent and engage people. And by the way, people love to know that their engagement made a difference. I'm always surprised how people talk to famous people. One of the good things of doing the family is that you meet a lot of famous people. And there's a question I always love to ask people is how do you deal with a stranger that come to see you and tell you that they love you? And it's funny because they all have this universal answer. It's super hard to do it well. Because most of the people, they say things that are totally false. I will give you an example. A lot of people come to see me and say, oh, I love your content. I watched all your video. I will be so pleased you look at my business plan. Which content did you look at? The one that say never do business plan or the one called business plan for soccer? And you don't imagine how many times. Last time I was like, yeah, I watched all your content and I took a credit loan on the bank to launch my company. Are you sure it's the same OUSSAMA AMMAR? Because there is another OUSSAMA Are you sure you type it well in Google, And why? Because people just lie. They never watch a video. Maybe they try to watch a video. They was like, oh, this guy is so boring. But then they are like, oh, that's the guy I should talk to get money. And then they don't even know that I don't have money. You know, like we don't invest. You don't imagine how comfortable as a position is to not invest in startups. Because only good people come to talk to you. Because the people looking for money, they never come to talk to you. They're like, oh, you don't invest money? Okay. Where is the other one? Where is the VC in the room? And that's why it's so hard to be VC. Because it's like being a Series B movie star, you know? You know you are not a super Hollywood star, but everyone wants to talk to you because everyone is interested by you. So everyone tells you that you are so smart, so good, so beautiful. And then you become immune to that. You just want a moment of sincerity. You know, always think about that, moment of sincerity. Same thing with people in job interview. You know, one of the worst things when you job interview a lot of people is that you are so trained to spot how people lie that when someone don't lie to you, you feel like it's holiday. And even if he's not that good, he got the job. Because you're like, thank you. Like, I got 1 hour of rest. And every, you know, it's like when you ask people, hey, what is your worst quality? Yeah, I'm so perfectionist. Yeah, sure, dude. It looks how you were. Anyway. Question. So let's go. Okay, yeah. That way. I saw the path.
Just you emphasized a lot about not raising money early, but from your point of view, what's the best magical moment to start thinking about that?
When you can. Give the microphone to the next one so we can save like that time. You know, that question, I call them the lean startup question. That's why someone here, okay, same question. Lean startup created that very weird effect on the market that people believe in checklist. So people are like, I did my MVP, I try on 10 customer, I got a 70% conversion, so now I'm ready to do my seed. And you're like, yeah, maybe not. And you know, it's very shameful because Eric Ries is a great guy. He wrote a great book. And now every time someone asks me, I'm forced to say that it's super bad. Don't read it. Because it's not that it's bad, actually it's really good. It's just that people read it the wrong way. The guy tried to give a methodology to people, and the only thing people remember is a checklist. So I try to give you a philosophy, and there is no way I tell you there is a moment. There is no moment. And I will prove it to you in very simple sentence. What is the right moment to be an adult? When do you switch from children to an adult? Like, can someone here define a single criteria that go from childhood to an adult? Another good example of that is, there was that Supreme Court question. You know the longest question in history of debate of Supreme Court? What is the question? What is porn? 12 years of debate at Supreme Court. You know the answer? Porn is obvious. Yeah, you recognize it when you see it. Because there is not, like if you say, okay, porn is nudity. Okay, there is some heart with nudity. Porn is a sexual act. Okay, there is some heart with sexual act. Porn is ugly. Yeah, there is some movies that are ugly. And blah, blah. And so there is no single criteria, but porn never make debates. When you see porn, you know it's porn. Same thing with fundraising. If you are ready for fundraising, you know that you are ready. But until you are ready, you have questions. So the right moment is when it really makes sense and you cannot see any reason to don't do it. And that's not how fundraising happens usually. People chase fundraising. They don't wait that fundraising come to them. Who watched the movie Ratatouille? Like, that's the best movie about entrepreneurship ever. Like, really. Like, in that movie, there is a moment where the little rat, it tried to steal things to cook. And the cook appear and say, for good cook, good ingredients always come. Same thing with fundraising and entrepreneurship. If you are a good entrepreneur, fundraising will come naturally. Because there will be a moment where you will need money, you will find the good people with money. We don't have a single company at the family that deserved to raise that did not raise. Not a single one. I never been in the case where there was a good company with a good team and a good product and the team end up not raising. But the opposite is also true. There is so many bad product, bad team, everything going wrong, and fundraising. So don't be in that case. Work on what is important. Work on what you can master. You cannot master fundraising. Fundraising mastering is not a good skill because it gives you illusion of success, but it's not the reality of success. If you master product, if you master team, if you master co-founder, if you master the important thing, then everything else will follow. And if you have money problem or you want to live richer than you are, that's the life of an entrepreneur. Just wait. It will eventually always be solved. Question?
I got two questions. What are your views on the number of investors?
So what do you mean?
Not like how many investors you have. Is 10 too many? Is 50 too many? And
Okay.
then
Just start because I will not remember the second question, and then we do. That's an important question. I don't know if I have an opinion around that. There is a huge debate between lead round and party round. I think it comes down to your personality. I'm a party round guy. So because there is a word party in it, so I was like, it depends what you are looking from investor. If you are looking to don't lose control, having a lot of investor makes sense. It's a Caesar rule, divide to conquer. If you are looking for a sparring partner where you can share the burden of decision, take very few investors and share the burden of decision with them. But it comes down to personality. Are you the kind of people that want to share decision and share the downside of it? Or are you someone that don't care about that and just want to stay free? In that case, a high number of investors makes more sense. What is your next question?
and second one, what problems can arise when you have investors with much larger stakes than other investors?
So the usual problem of anything that have too much power, then his opinion will always matter than the others. And so if you disagree, it will be a bigger disagreement. But again, you cannot really manage the downside. So if things go bad, there is not a good way of going bad. By the way, that's one of the highest intellectual weakness of the entrepreneurship community. It's the lack of philosophy training. So everybody look at consequence as something as a choice. No, like choice are causality. You can choose to have a big investor and that provide a certain kind of characteristic. You can choose to have a small investor. But every choice you do, they have inside them the trouble of the decision you took. So if you have a big investor, the day it go wrong a certain way. And then people, they leave. Like, the worst people to take advice from are people that did a mistake and think that the other side is without mistake. So they took a big lead investor, it goes wrong, and then they give the advice, take a lot of investors, don't take a one. And you're like, why? Because I took a big one, it went bad. Yeah, but it didn't went bad because it was a big one, it went bad because it went bad. And so you have to really see the difference between both. There is not a good way of going bad. When you go bad, you go bad. It's like, and I don't know if there is a better way, but what you can have control on is what is the upside. And the upside of having a lead investor are strong, but the upside of having a lot of investors are strong too. So personal choice again.
So imagine that you are a VC or an angel.
Did you went to the US?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
So I have one leg there and one leg here, so this is why I'm asking. So let's be more concrete. I want to be an angel somewhere, either there or here or both. I don't know, right?
Do you have a visa for the US?
Yeah, I'm working on that. So, but that's an easy one actually. Okay. So let's say that the proportion in valuation is 1/4, right? So the companies in the US tend to raise about 4 times more than here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, imagine that the European companies are less successful than the ones there because they have less money to work with, and they are less successful 1 divided by X, right? So if X is less than 4, then it's a good deal to do investments in Europe. Can you help me estimate X?
Yeah, of course. So X is infinite. Because 0.1% of the company do 99% of the return, and because of that it's a sucker game, and no one never do money in angel investing. So X is infinite. The reality of venture return is that every angel investor that do that for money always end up not doing any money. And it doesn't work as a return law. Yeah, because there is only few companies that make it. Yeah, being an angel investor in a company is being in a situation that if there is any downside to take, you are always the one that take it at 100%. And it's impossible to protect your right against big VC. Because people think really badly. They are like, oh, I invested at 2 million valuation and the company is now 50. Yeah, but there is 20 million of preference and there is proactive right and there is a lot of complexity that as an angel you cannot. That's why all the most successful angels are paid forward. They don't do it for the money, they do it for the back, and because they do it enough and with enough people that are good, that they end up doing something as a return. But angel investing as a class of asset is a worst class, Europe and US combined. So it's not, it's really not the right way of thinking about investing. If you want to make money by investing money, build your own company. Like that's always make more money than investing in anyone else because you have control around what you are doing. Yeah. Okay, I will come back.
Okay, my question would be, can you tell us some anecdotes about how to keep the relationship if you made a round with investors and just like a lot of nice stories about that.
I think there is very simple rules to do that is keep people in the loop formally and informally. Formally, it's easy. Just have the discipline of sending one email every month that is super transparent, and that is called the formal reporting. But the formal reporting are less important than the informal reporting. So the way to think about it, think like a relationship. Think like it's your girlfriend, what you will do to make her happy, you know, like how you will give news about what you do, you will try to keep her in the loop about your decision, you will try to involve her. Do the same thing with investor. It's as easy as that. Just build that constant flow of information, constant put people inside even if they're outside. But that doesn't mean that they take the decision. You know, you have to have a fine line between sharing and deciding. And if you educate people well early enough, it goes super smooth. The best company in the family for that would be Agricool. It's one of our startup. I'm always super impressed because I think he got that super deeply, and it goes as stupid as he will send strawberries, so he produces strawberries in containers, to the important moment of life of their investor. But something stupid, you know. For example, I try to know the birthday of my investor. It's not a big work. It's a small gesture. Most of them don't have Facebook, so they don't make the life easy around that. So it shows commitment to know the date and send it. I just have a listing with the date and I send a small message and sometimes, you know, for example, I will see a book and I will be like, oh, it would be nice for that guy. I will send the book, you know. It's a lot of small attention to details that create a super lasting relationship that when a problem happens, people don't think with their brain, they think with their heart. And that's where you are a winner as an entrepreneur. Like that's the key of success. Because a problem will happen, always. More your company will be successful, by the way, more the day the problem happen, it will be an horrible problem. Even the company that think they made it, when something happen, it's like, look, the poor Mark Zuckerberg. No, just let's have a little minute of empathy against that guy. The guy built an empire, Facebook, everything is master of the world. And then Trump get elected and everyone think he's responsible more than Hillary Clinton to be bad candidate. No, seriously. It's like, yeah, Russian stole the election because of Facebook. Yeah, of course. That's exactly what happened. And you have Senate audition, and you saw the last video of him? He's like 20 kilo less. He speak like the first year at Facebook. You know, like the shy people, when the media train to speak well, it works only when it go well. When it goes bad, they go back to their, you know, their style. Like, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. and it's horrible. I feel really heartbroken for him. Because everybody is going after him. Because more you are high, more you have people that have a high interest to just match you. And Trump become an excuse for that. And so imagine what happened. Like, the only thing Mark Zuckerberg need is the support of these closed one and investors and people that really be like, okay, look, we are with you. It's not a question of rationality, it's just a question of heart. That's a big game. It's when people around you, they are like, okay, we support you, whatever happens. That's when you can survive as a company.
Is it harder to raise with a French company or US company from French investors? Or is it the same?
US company from French investor?
Like to raise from a French investor?
Raising locally is always easier. So if you are a French company, it's easier to raise from French investor. If you are a US company, it's easier to raise from US investor. If you are a fake US company that is actually done only by French people in France, then it's easier to raise from French people. Maybe it's that your question?
Is it like, are French investors reluctant to invest in US companies? Or
not that much. For a legal reason, not that much. The more important question will not be the legal structure. It will be much more about who are the people and where they are. Okay. Because people don't like to invest in someone they cannot see easily. Startups tend to have big problems, so you need to be close to them. The only way to invest in startup that is not close to you is that the startup is big enough. Like if you are BlaBlaCar and you have a US investor, the guy can take the plane every month for a board in Paris. You are valued 1 billion. What do you want more important? You know, like, of course, the US investor will take the plane every month. And be in Paris, Kazakhstan, or Dubai, nobody will care. You are BlaBlaCar. So it's just a question of size. But when you are small at the beginning, you don't want to take a plane each time you want to talk to the founder.
Yeah, but for...
Ask your real question.
Yeah, the real question. Imagine...
No, not imagine. What is your case? Don't worry, there is nothing confidential.
Just a startup that will launch internationally. So
that doesn't mean anything. No one launch internationally.
Let's say bootstrapping in France and then really quickly try to go abroad.
What does it mean? Concretely, like don't be media, driven. When people say you have to think global, it doesn't mean anything. No one is thinking global. Only US entrepreneur can come and say this kind of bullshit. Yeah, from day one we think globally, from Palo Alto to San Francisco, and we never go out from that. Yeah, all nationality come here. I even went to a Thai restaurant yesterday. I'm a super global guy. No, man, it doesn't work like that. You launched your small community and you grew from that, and you don't know at which pace you will grow. So the question is the real question you should ask yourself is where it is the most natural first market you can have, and that can be a place where you are not, and you should move to that place as fast as you can if you don't have personal constraint. That's the real question you should ask yourself. So if you are French, don't be a victim of that. No, but that's true. It's one of the things we teach our startup at the family is don't be a victim of where you are. Like something I learned about Berlin that really shocked me. Every startup in Berlin, they have like this crazy term of use that are super good. And why? Because one day I was like talking with one of our startup here, and I was like, why do you spend so much time on term of use? Like in France, you will have companies that are billion valuation and they don't have term of use yet. And the guy was like, yeah, because 60% of the people that subscribe on our website visit the term of use first. I was like, what? I was like, are you sure? And he showed me the numbers, and I told him, move to London. because this kind of company will never happen in Berlin, because this kind of company is based on data privacy breach. So doesn't make sense here. It's not because he's German, he's unlucky. He's like, he has to live with that, but it's fine. He can go in London and launch in London. And in London, he has less than 0.1% of the user that click on term of use. And now I know where this user come from. They are from here, abroad. And of course, this kind of big cultural bias can sometimes kill companies at the beginning, because a company like that cannot deal with something complicated legally like that before being a little bit bigger. And so you have to ask your question, where is the most compatible market for you, and just go there as a first step. And by the way, personal life decisions are much more important than business decision. Like, that's a mistake a lot of people do. If you value your personal life, optimize your business around your personal life, not the other way, because it's super hard. I see that with all the French people going to the US, and they try to live like in France. You know, they all live in the same neighborhood with people talking French, eating French cheese. That is, by the way, very bad, because no French guy will sell the good cheese abroad. You know, French people, they keep the good cheese and they export the bad one. It's like that's a French mentality. And then they are depressed and they never success in the US. If you go to the US, you'll live in a neighborhood where everybody's American, you eat burger and you are happy of that. If you are not happy of that, don't go to the US. It's a very simple test. If you don't like the caricature of the country where you live in, don't go to live in this country, because it will never work on the business side, because it always start by personal caricature. That's why every French guy that is successful in the US look like Jean-Claude Van Damme. No, it's true, because it's an adoption of the US market. They are like, oh yeah, he's like us. We can adopt him. Oh no, he's not cheesy French. You know, and it works for German, it works for Italian. Italian are so like, I think Italian is the worst, by the way, because it's so hard. No, but true, it's paradise on earth. How do you want to find that anywhere else? Like, and they go out and they're like, oh my God, why? How people live like that? So try to do an Italian business, it will be better. Of course, it will not be Facebook, but you can live well. You know, everybody don't need to build Facebook. Yeah. No. No, here.
So there are many vertical specific corporate investments, like in different sectors, automotive or IoT or AI. So do you think, what's your take on those kind of investments? Are they any better than private investors, or for any round, angel, or for the later rounds?
No, I don't think so. Again, it comes down to the person, not the marketing of the firm. So again, there is some of them that are, some of them are not, but you really need to know the person and not the firm. And you need to know if the person is happy in the firm. There's nothing like, we lived that recently in the family where we have like someone that build a relationship with an investor, let the investor invest, and 2 months after he said, I got a better job in that firm. I introduce you to the investor that will be on your board. And everybody in the board is like, no, not her, not that, no, not that possible. And of course it's seen as a treason, but the truth is that he was not happy here, so he left. So then it become, you know, like this really weird situation where you bought a person, but you end up with a firm. So pay attention to that. Ask people if they are happy where they are, where they see themselves in 5 years. You know, just to check if they will be around.
Hello. I think you told a story a little bit earlier saying that you had those 3 guys raising $500,000 and you couldn't figure out that they got that type of money. So it seems that at least at that point of time there was cash on the market for startups. Is it still the case?
Oh yeah,
Your read?
way too much.
And looking at the ecosystem, my take on it is that there is a lot of cash still around, but not really for hardware and more industrial type of
Oh, that's
venture.
for sure. Yeah, hardware, there is a word hard in it, so no one wants to go. They should find another name and they will get more VC
Yeah.
investing.
Software,
Because they are like,
Yeah.
no, I cannot go.
malware or something like that.
Malware. That makes sense.
Malware.
Maybe that will be. You should be like, I'm pitching you the first malware company.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, seriously, hardware is, VC works like fashion. There is trends, and there is things that are trendy, things that are not trendy. Hardware is definitively not trendy these days.
Is it?
Ah, yeah,
Okay.
not.
And any
But there is some specialized investor that is trendy in, but they are the weird people of the market. And if they don't invest, no one will invest.
And in terms of the place to go and raise between a Berlin, a Paris, a London, or elsewhere?
I think, it depends which kind of company you are, but again, if you are a Berlin company, to be able to raise in London and Paris will mean that you are a certain level of maturity that you can extract yourself from the ecosystem. It's not that easy. It's actually really hard. So of course, first round happen most of the time locally. One of our criteria of success of a round is to tell entrepreneurs that they should raise the first round when they get one Berlin, London, and Paris investor together, because we know is that hard, that until they get to that point, they have to do a lot of work. It's a way, to scam the entrepreneurs. Yeah, just get one VC from each city. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, good luck. And then when they succeed, it's usually a super, super good company, because it means that they find a way to excite above market rules. Yeah.
Hi, my question is, when you're evaluating different types of investment, are you looking at if you're about to get into an incubator program or an accelerator like yours, or actually take a friends and family round?
Not an accelerator. I'm a family.
I'm sorry. I apologize. And so, what do you, as a
I love to do that.
as a entrepreneur, what are the criteria by which you're kind of deciding, or what's the pros and cons?
What do you think the criteria are?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
No,
you.
I'm sure you know. What will be the most important criteria for you?
I assume it's primarily the fit of the firm that you're going to.
You get it.
Yeah.
What do you want more? If you get fit, like, look, let's say you like blonde girls, and you meet an incredible brunette. Are you the kind of guy who will be like, she's great, she's smart, she likes me, I like her, but come on. She's
Sometimes
brunette.
the deal term's a little bit different, though, right?
Which, like what?
If you're in an accelerator, or you're as opposed to if you're in an incubator.
Yeah, but I don't even understand the difference between accelerator and incubator. What is the difference?
That's actually my point.
Yeah, but the point is that you have no fit. Like, again, the point, like, it doesn't work like you have to go to an incubator, then an accelerator, then a seed, then a Series A. It doesn't work like that. It works, you have to take whatever makes sense for you at the time it makes sense. So some people need an office, so they go in an incubator. I don't know why they need an office, but still, they need an office. Maybe to tell people around them that they are not crazy. So, okay, so they go in an incubator. And again, why people are so willing to accept such a level of humiliation? That's a question I really ask. Everybody pretends that they are entrepreneurs. We have never had so many people pretending that they are entrepreneurs. And still, people are willing to fill a 30-page application form to go a place that just offer desk and office. As an entrepreneur myself, if someone asks me more than one email to pitch myself to get a fucking desk, I will be fuck off. And I will never go through a process of humiliation just to get these little things. But still, a lot of people on market accept that. And same thing with accelerator. I was looking at the application accelerator in Berlin and what everybody is asking. They ask you to fill 100 of question and page and send a business plan and things like that. Like, how anyone that think of himself as an entrepreneur can accept to deal with people like that? Because they are not fucking entrepreneurs. They are just people out of school that are totally lost about their life, and they are looking for a second validation after school. Because they can be like, he look like so much school that he should be good. And if you want to join the family, you send an email, you fill 3 questions, and we tell you yes or no in 15 minutes. Most of the people are like, oh my God, it's not serious, you not really evaluate who I am. Actually, yeah, we evaluated you are from first email. Because 95% of the email we receive are crap. You know how many, like we receive 2,000 applications every week. You know how many applications just ask, what should I do to apply? It's more than half of them. Why? You're on a website that tell you, you want to apply, just send an email. And people are like, how should I apply? Because they are like, where is the form? You know? Sometimes we reply funny thing, you know, when we have time. We say, you have to send your passport, double copy of your passport, and your last tax return, and your bank statement. You don't imagine how many people send it. I can send a Nigerian scam company just on the apply. If you want to launch a Nigerian scam company, put a fake incubator website, tell people you need their bank statement to receive 100,000 in funding, and everyone will send bank statement. And that's why I'm so pissed off by this market, because we have to tell how much all of that is wrong. And all of that come down to the simple fact that all these people corrupt you with money that is not even their own. That go down from public money to pre-seed money. Like, you know, before we had seed money, now we have pre-seed money. What the fuck does it mean? No, really, how can you be something before the seed? The seed is supposed to be the first step of life. Like, what is this, quantum money? You know, it doesn't really exist, but it's here. There is way too much wrong thing. But again, all of that will just disappear in the next correction of market. And that will be fine. It's, I remember, you know, I'm lucky enough to be someone that was in this market way before it was fashionable. It was great time. The first time I told the father of my girlfriend at that time that I was an entrepreneur, the guy was a military, high-rank military in France, and look at me like that and say, I know, son, it's so hard to find a job nowadays. It was an absolute incredible time to be an entrepreneur, because the only people you meet was people like you know, super motivated. They didn't really understand what social bias is. They didn't need any social recognition. You know, just bunch of misfit. And then the business school grad people came. And they started to ask us, what is your business model and your pre-traction and all of that. And that day, entrepreneurship became a maze. And you know, it's like every maze, there is a start and an end. And there is a lot of good thing in that. Look, the family business is based on wannabe entrepreneurs. We make so much money on wannabe entrepreneurs. And we give that money to real entrepreneurs. So I'm not telling you that it doesn't have value for the market. There never have been so much money for good entrepreneurs. But ask yourself an honest question. Are you a real entrepreneur or not? And you can all answer that. If you answer yes, you are not the one. Because the real one, we all have doubt. But if you really, you know, just play that game because it's a game you want to play to look good in front of your friends, don't play it because it will end up bad. Because the difference between consultant and entrepreneur is that when everybody wanted to be consultant, at least everybody ended up with a house in the countryside. No, it's true. That's a big difference. When everybody plays a game to be bankers, at least everyone end up with a 6-digit bonus. Like when everybody want to be entrepreneur, you will all end up with nothing. That's a big difference between that game and the previous marketing game. So pay attention before playing that game. And one of the good questions you can ask yourself is, if in 10 years I had made no money, nothing, and I'm still in the same situation than now, will I continue or not? If your answer is yes, then you can continue. If your answer is no, it's way too much, stop now. Because the probability that in 10 years you have nothing is super high. That's a funny thing with entrepreneurship. The only industry where you have losers for more than 20 years. No, it's true. Look myself. I mean, look, I'm in this industry from 10, 15 years now. I'm not a billionaire. You know, I made few millions and I spent them in parties and everything else, I lost it. So it's like there's not a lot of industry where people can be here a very long time and don't make that much. But the reality for me of my situation is that I cannot do anything else. I tried to get a real job one day. 2 weeks. And the guy that fired me told me never try again. It's a real story. The guy was like, really? I didn't know it was possible to be that bad. Stay an entrepreneur. He really fits you more. So of course, when you're in this situation, if in 10 years it doesn't work out, I will keep pushing. Because what do you want I do? But if you are like, oh, I hesitate between going to Goldman Sachs and be an entrepreneur, really go to Goldman Sachs. It's a better option. You have a question? No? Okay, last question and we go. That's what you want? You all ready for the music?
Forgive me, but I'm so curious what job you got fired from.
I was hired by a company called CGG Veritas. It's a very big geophysics company, and I was working for the CEO, and my mission was to create a space division for that company. And so I can tell you what happened. There was a first meeting where I was supposed to meet all the COMEX, and after 3 hours of meeting, everybody was yelling at around everybody. Because I was like, I look at everyone bonus, and I was wondering why this guy is making that much more than this guy. and the CEO was looking at me like that. He was like, what is doing? And me, I was serious because they told me, like, I will tell you the story. The guy came in and was like, you should help us to be more collaborative. I was, okay, so how people are paid? Because if you want that people are more collaborative, you have to look at how they are paid. Because the way they act is based on the incitation. And so first meeting, I was like, guys, I look at your incitation, let's take Said. Said made $1 million more than that guy, and it's based on no criteria I can see. Can you explain? And the meeting went totally nuts. And the guy took me out. He was like, why you did that? I was like, I don't know. You told me you have to be more collaborative. So you didn't think that people will react like that? I was like, I don't care. It's like, you tell me, you give me a job, I do it. And the guy was like, okay, no, you should not do that. And so the week after, I came back with a plan, and I offered them a new scheme of collaboration. And it went, again, so bad that the guy was like, okay, you know what, Oussama? We will give you a severance package, and you will leave. And I was like, what is a severance package? It's a lot of money, so you shut up. And I was like, okay, sure, thank you for the money. And that was my only 2 weeks of work. And the guy giving me the money was like, man, don't do that again ever. It's like, stay out. And 3 people resign. It has been an absolute nightmare. But I will never had imagined that a company with 10,000 people can lie on how much people are paid internally. Like, how do you know that in real company they do this kind of shit? Like, I was like so surprised. And he was honest. He was not like, now I joke about it because I have the family, blah, blah, blah. But at the time when I got fired, I was depressed. I was telling my friend, I really don't know what I will do in my life. Like 2 weeks, how that is even possible, you know? Because, you know, this kind of failure, people tell you, yeah, he made me. But on the moment it happened, you're like, you have the check in the end, you're like, what the fuck, why? And so now I laugh about it. It's actually a good thing it happened like that. But yeah, I didn't realize at that time. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Me, I fall in love with you. Que la famille. Que la famille.